You only pay mileage for the shortest possible trip? Okay, then you have to pay my tolls. An update. First, I want to apologize for not getting this update to you all sooner. December and January are my busiest times and I just haven't had the time to sit down and write it out. Here is the link to the original post. https://r/maliciouscompliance/comments/vimvmr/you only pay mileage for the shortest possible. The TL doctor of the original is a new bookkeeper at my company accused me of stealing from the company because I was taking a slightly longer route to and from our satellite office. The company was reimbursing me for mileage. She insisted I take the shortest route, said the company will only pay for mileage for the shortest trip, and there would be no further discussion on the topic. I had her put this all in writing in an email to me. This saved the company about $5.85 in mileage every 2 weeks. But it costs the company about $130 in tolls every 2 weeks. Well, on to the update. This extra cost to the company went on all last year. By my estimates, it cost the company about an extra $3,500 last year. So the third week of December we have our annual budget review with all the department heads. It's usually just a quick chit-chat about how things went over the year. Then we all get a nice catered lunch. This year went a little different. First, Karen bookkeeper asked that we have a projector set up in the conference room so she could give a presentation on how much she has saved the company since she was hired at the beginning of the year. This was great for me. I prepared my own presentation. She starts off the meeting going over each department, going over the changes she has made to save money. Her big cherry on top of her savings was how much she has saved by cracking down on excess expense reimbursements. Now, I should say here that she is not liked by any of the department heads. Most of the employees have complained to their department heads about her bull, and they've been forced to just take the complaints with no power to do anything about it. I, on the other hand, am a one-person department. So, her presentation ends with a big hooray on how cutting down on expense reimbursements has saved the company a whole $3,500 last year. Then we start going over each department's budgets. Everything is going normally until they get to my budget. Wait, why is it so far over budget? Quote, my boss asks. And this is when my short PowerPoint gets played. I bring up the first slide. It's the slightly longer route I was taking between offices. I explained this was the route I was taking and what the mileage reimbursement was. The next slide was the new shorter route. I explained that Karen forced me to take this route because the mileage reimbursement was less, saving the company about $5.85 every 2 weeks. A little more after the mileage rate went up in July. Then I showed them the next slide of Karen's email. Included in that email is a part about this being final and there will be no further discussion on the matter. The final slide was all the toll reimbursements I was paid over the year, including the approximate total YTD that was a result of this new shorter route. I explained that had I been able to discuss the matter with Karen, I could have explained that the shorter route had these extra tolls. And I said that's the reason I'm so over budget this year. The room was silent for what seems like forever. Then the owners of the company asked everyone except Karen to step out of the room for a few minutes. When the door opened back up, Karen walked out silent, went to her desk and started packing up her things. That was the end of Karen. Edit, a typo. Lol. So her being a complete bitch to everyone saved a whopping $3,500. And she thought that was an accomplishment? What was the look on her face when you dropped that $6,500 bomb on her? Apology accepted. That, boys and girls, is how malicious compliance is done. As my British mother says, penny wise and pound foolish. Then I showed them the next slide of Karen's email. Included in that email is a part about this being final, and there will be no further discussion on the matter. The final slide was all the toll reimbursements I was paid over the year, including the approximate total YTD that was a result of this new shorter route. I explained that had I been able to discuss the matter with Karen, I could have explained that the shorter route had these extra tolls. And I said that's the reason I'm so over budget this year. This is a coup de grace. Nothing like damning evidence right in front of everybody's eyes. Remember, when they ask you to switch back to your regular route, they still owe you that $5.85. This saved the company about $5.85 in mileage every 2 weeks. But it costs the company about $130 in tolls every 2 weeks. I'm confused on the math. This comes out to just under $3,400 per year. $130 times 26 equals $3,380. Yet you then say, by my estimates it cost the company about an extra $6,500 last year. Where is the extra $3,100 in expenses coming from? Fatality. Bean counter loses. Karening Karen with her own tools. And that's how you speak to her manager. Progressive Grocer magazine does a big feature on women in the industry. A lady at Safeway did something that saved $3,000 or less per store, while another Safeway store manager added millions to sales at her store. I wondered why they weren't focused on figuring out what she had done, and transferred the learning to the company and all its stores. Hoist by her own petard. I once had a job that came with a take-home car, as I had 4 satellite sites in addition to the main office. When I had the car, I'd stop by a site on my way in to pick up paperwork. Then, our budget department decided that they needed to save money and I could no longer take the car home. Okay, fine. I now had to either go to the main office first, get the car to go to the sites, or drive my personal car to a site and then the main office. When I went to the office first, an hour of my day was wasted. When I took my personal car, I got mileage from the first site to the main office as the policy reimbursed from the first work location during the day. Fortunately for me, I got a much better job before I got the car back, but the person who took that position was given it back on day 1. I had already told her what I was doing in case they didn't let her take it home, so that she could do the same. The problem with bookkeepers is they only look at the bottom number in the specific column and don't take into account how a change affects the other columns. Had something similar. Claimed $11 for cell phone usage back when I was still being charged for minutes over my plan. Got rejected and hit with, familiarize yourself with the policy, to find they would only reimburse for minutes I used for company business after I had exceeded my plan. Corrected the expense report. Also found I was underclaiming mileage that I then corrected for the following 3+ years and thousands of dollars per year that I never would have known about if I hadn't familiarized myself with the policy. Thanks, Pete. Travel and expense policy is something I memorize with each subsequent organization. Do not go afoul of the bean counters. With a bit of a rewrite, this is pro revenge worthy. Your patience and planning, having the PowerPoint slides ready for the meeting, finished her off. So Karen could use the internet to Google the price of a pack of pens to penny pinch people, but couldn't use it to properly Google Maps your trip, which would have very clearly shown the tolls on the trip plan. Then gets all braggy about penny pinching everyone and gives herself on a pat on the back to be humbled instantly afterwards. Guess she'll have to use those penny pinching skills while jobless. Would someone really get fired over one issue? I think there was more going on behind the scenes. As much as I love the malicious compliance and the Karen being put in place aspect, I just can't imagine a business with heads of departments, executives, accountants, and these kind of meetings would ever think $3,500 is so far over budget. It would be typically a rounding error for a company this size. I had a variation on this. Prior position, I traveled almost weekly. My wife would drive me to the airport and then pick me up when I got back. I put in mileage reimbursement round trip twice for each week, so about 40 miles. 20 to the airport and 20 for her to go home. New bookkeeper decides that they were going to save the company money. So, after they denied my reimbursement, next week I drove to the airport for 20 miles, parked there at $18 per day for 5 days and then drove home for 20 miles. The week after, as per policy, I took a hire car to and from the airport at $60 each way. The week after, took a cab each way, $73 each way. Week after that, I was told I would get reimbursed for my wife to get home when she drove me. How did she not know how much you were being reimbursed? Boom. An excellent update, well done.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.